Are WhatsApp messages really encrypted? Is it safe to criticize governments using our phones? Hi everyone, welcome to the Humane Factor. I'm Namrata, a human rights lawyer and activist. I recently spoke about how journalists and human rights activists are being arrested for doing their jobs. Evidently, being arrested, detained, or even murdered are merely outcomes of elaborate schemes by certain governments who spy on people. If you think about it for a moment, it makes sense, right? How do governments know which individuals to silence? So, we need to be careful about not just what we post on social media, but also our private conversations. Are WhatsApp messages really encrypted? Is it safe to criticize governments using our phones? Apparently not. That's right. Today I'll be talking about the Pegasus controversy that has shaken the world. What's been happening so far and what does this mean for us? So, what is Pegasus? Now, Pegasus is a military grade spyware or hacking software which was originally intended to be used in criminal and anti terrorism investigations. Now, it's sold by an Israeli surveillance company, the NSO Group. A collaborative investigation called the Pegasus Project, involving 17 news organizations in 10 countries, coordinated by a France-based non-profit media organization called Forbidden Stories, with technical support from Amnesty International, revealed that Pegasus is being misused to spy on human rights activists, lawyers, journalists, politicians, and even students across the world. Now, NSO Group has allegedly been selling this spyware to multiple countries, including Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, India, Mexico, Morocco, and the United Arab Emirates, among others. So, how does Pegasus work? Now, it's a malware that infects iPhones and Android devices and enables operators of the tool to extract messages, photos, and emails, as well as record calls and secretly activate microphones and cameras to record the owner's surroundings. Now, Pegasus uses vulnerabilities in smartphones and social media source code. These vulnerabilities are called zero-day vulnerabilities, and they're basically loopholes in devices that phone manufacturers aren't even aware of yet. Can you imagine what it is like to have a spyware in your phone? Take a look at this clip.
You're going to use this phone. This is effectively we'll call it the perpetrator's phone. And you're the perp. You've got access to everything I do on this phone. We'll call this phone the victim's phone. So if you look at that phone there, that's your dashboard. And so you are all set to effectively spy on me for the next 2 days. One whiteboard whiteboard pen.
Joe is buying a whiteboard marker.
Oh, okay.
And I can hear it. Can you hear it?
You've got a black one.
That is so bizarre. I can see Joe picking up a bike. I can also flip between the front camera and the back camera on Joe's phone. This is quite creepy. I can see where Joe's moving. It's not just updating every so often, it's a live image. Think it might be Candy Crush again?
That's quite scary, isn't it? Now, Pegasus is much more powerful than what you just saw, which is what makes it scarier. Now, Forbidden Stories and Amnesty International accessed a database of around 50,000 phone numbers belonging to people who are believed to be targeted for surveillance by clients of NSO. Now, some of the people on the list include Arab royal family members, business executives, human rights activists, journalists, politicians, and government officials, including several heads of state and prime ministers. Now, Amnesty International's Security Lab forensically examined 67 mobile phones operated by persons on the database, 37 of which were found to have evidence of a successful or attempted Pegasus attack. Now, Amnesty International's report documents the forensic traces left on iOS and Android devices, which were targeted with the Pegasus spyware. Take a look at this clip.
Well, we can now speak to Sirath Vedarajan. He's a founding editor of The Wire and a journalist whose phone was hacked. But let me start by asking you how you found out you were being monitored with this Pegasus software.
Well, we have been working with Forbidden Stories, which is a Paris-based media organization, a non-profit. And they accessed this database of numbers and decided to assemble a collaborative media project involving news organizations from around the world, and The Wire is one of them. And of course, as part of the research into what these numbers were, my number popped out, and that's in a way why they also reached out to me. And so I was informed about this by Forbidden Stories, and we had the phone forensically examined by Amnesty International, and the infection was detected.
What kind of work do you do that you think might have made you a target?
Well, I'm one of the founding editors of The Wire, and we are India's leading independent media platform at a time when most big media organizations have decided to lay low and not provide critical coverage of what's happening in the country. So we are really at the cutting edge of independent journalism here, and have been for the last 6 years since we started, right? So there is no doubt in my mind that my selection as a target, and my colleague M.K. Venu, whose phone was also tested and found positive, and 3-4 other people who work with are very closely associated with Wire, is linked to the kind of work we do. The use of Pegasus, which involves hacking into a smartphone, is specifically excluded from the definition of lawful surveillance because it is defined as one of the constituents of the crime of hacking.
Now, the Pegasus attacks can be traced to 2014 up to as recently as July 2021. 7 years. That's a long time to be spying on people. Now, what makes Pegasus different from other phishing attacks is that it includes what's called zero-click attacks. So what are zero-click attacks? Zero-click attacks are one of the most dangerous attacks you can imagine. It doesn't require any action from the phone's user. What this means is the user doesn't need to click on a link or open a suspicious attachment for their device to be infected. So everything you've been doing to avoid phishing attacks, including resisting the temptation to open spurious attachments or clicking on links from a Nigerian prince or an individual who's dying of cancer and wants to give you $1 billion because you are the chosen one, is pointless. This is because with zero-click attacks, the target is the system itself. Once a phone is infiltrated, Pegasus has more control over the phone than even the owner, and it leaves absolutely no trace of this. So the phone owner will never even know that their device has been hacked. Now, the spyware then gains root level privileges and can view everything, right from contact lists to messages and internet browsing history. Then it sends all this information to the attacker. Now, according to Amnesty International's report, these zero-click attacks have been observed since May 2018 and continue till now. Now, this isn't the first time we are hearing about Pegasus. Last year, Pegasus was used by at least 2 state agencies, which were traced to Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates to hack the phones of journalists at Al Jazeera and Al Arabi TV. In 2019, Facebook-owned WhatsApp sued NSO Group, alleging that it was involved in the hacking of around 1,400 devices. Now, many other tech companies, including Microsoft, Google, and Cisco, signaled support for WhatsApp's suit. Back in 2018, Amnesty International claimed that NSO software had been used to target its staff. And if we go back even further, in 2017, it came to light that Mexico had been using the software to target journalists and their families. Now, Pegasus was also likely to have been used in the hacking of Amazon founder Jeff Bezos' phone. Now, the consequences of being targeted by government agencies is quite scary. For instance, in 2017, a freelance Mexican reporter, Cecilio Pineda, made a broadcast on Facebook Live about alleged government corruption. Hours later, he was shot dead. In the weeks leading up to his murder, his phone number was found in a list of interest to a Mexican client of NSO. Further investigation revealed that he was selected as a possible target by Mexico's Ministry of Defense, which was one of NSO's first clients. Now, around the same time, he'd received a string of anonymous death threats. When asked about this, NSO didn't comment on whether Pineda's phone had been targeted. But they said that even if his phone was infected, that didn't mean that the NSO client or data collected by NSO could be linked to his murder. They said that the gunman could have learned of his location at a public car wash through other means not related to NSO's technologies. Now, to me, this seems like the proof beyond reasonable doubt argument, where the defense counsel in a criminal trial points to the possibility of other individuals who are likely to have committed a crime. But we are not in a court of law, and this is not a trial. If we piece together all the information we have, we can come to certain reasonable conclusions on the basis of which a case can later be built. Now, when a phone is infected, the NSO client has access to everything on the device, including one's precise location. Now, it is possible that the gunman who shot Pineda could have learned of his location through other means. But his attackers knew his exact, precise location at the car wash. He was at a hammock, which was not visible from the street. Now, his phone, which had been with him all along, disappeared from the scene of murder. So, it wasn't possible to do a forensic analysis to establish whether it was infected. But as we all know, there's no such thing as too many coincidences. So, what does NSO have to say about all this? NSO has denied what it calls false allegations and says that it sells its spyware only to law enforcement and intelligence agencies of vetted governments for the sole purpose of preventing and investigating crime and countering terrorism. NSO claims that it cuts off an agency's access to Pegasus if it finds evidence of abuse. Now, in a transparency report released at the end of June, NSO said that it meets international human rights standards. But this is far from the truth. First, international human rights standards require pre-sale discretion for human rights violators. But Israeli law requires approval from Israel's Ministry of Defense, which is further limited only by UN Security Council resolutions. Now, in oppressive regimes, critical voices are often associated with crime or terrorism and become legitimate targets for surveillance. It's no rocket science that providing such a powerful spyware to oppressive governments will lead to abuse so that these governments can silence individuals who criticize them. As wonderfully worded by Gil Nave from Amnesty International Israel, any sane person can understand that. But it's important to note that NSO isn't the only one to be blamed. A huge portion of responsibility falls on Israel's Ministry of Defense. Such powerful spyware, which is prone to human rights violations, requires strict legislation, supervision, enforcement, and oversight to ensure its proper deployment. Now, most of these seem to be lacking in this case. So what can we do in this situation? Well, assuming you're not a journalist working on sensitive stories, a world leader, or in some position that could threaten governmental powers, the odds are that someone hasn't paid tens of thousands of dollars to target you with Pegasus. But what is concerning is that these types of attacks are possible and they could potentially fall into the hands of hackers who might target a broader range of people that could someday include us. So I hope you like this video. Please hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for videos every Wednesday and Saturday. See you soon.